The sun was shining through big windows, making long, bright shapes on the soft mats. All around the room, students were practicing. You could hear their feet slapping the ground, their grunts, and the soft sounds of people falling. But this wasn't a regular martial arts gym. It was a very special dojo in Los Angeles. People from all over came here because it was known for making some of the best black belts in Judo, Aikido, and Jiu-Jitsu. One person in the dojo stood out. His name was Derek Vance. He was 27 years old and super strong. He had won many Judo tournaments and thought he was the best. He had big muscles and an even bigger ego. He wanted everyone to know how great he was. Derek was jumping on the mat, throwing around a big brown belt student like it was easy. After beating the guy, Derek stood up and smiled at a group of younger students watching him. "That's how you do it, boys," he said loudly. "No fear, no mercy." Some of the students laughed, but not everyone was smiling. Near the back wall, a man named Steven Seagal was stretching quietly. He wore a simple black uniform. He was 72 years old, but people still looked at him with awe. Steven was a legend. His movements were slow but powerful. He had a calm face that didn't show much, but everyone knew he was someone special. Derek saw Steven and couldn't help himself. "Hey, Sensei," Derek said loudly so everyone could hear. "Are you going to fight today, or just sit there and meditate?" The room went silent. Everyone turned to look. Steven slowly lifted his head. His eyes met Derek's. They were calm, like a quiet ocean, but you could feel a storm hiding underneath. "I'm always ready to roll," Steven said in a quiet, steady voice. People in the room whispered, "No way." Derek smiled big. "Well then, let's see if the old legend still has some fire." They both stepped onto the center mat. The instructor bowed quickly, and the students stepped back, forming a big circle around them. Some students quietly pulled out their phones to record. Nobody wanted to miss this. Derek bent his knees and moved side to side, looking like a hungry lion ready to pounce. Steven just stood straight, calm and still. "You sure you're okay, old man?" Derek teased. Steven didn't answer. The instructor raised his hand and said, "Begin." Derek rushed in fast. Really fast. But Steven stepped aside, gently moved his arm, and almost made Derek fall. Derek caught himself and smiled. "Nice. Thought you were going to fall asleep standing up." They moved around again. Derek went for a grab, got behind Steven, and wrapped his arms around his neck in a choke hold. He squeezed tight. The students gasped. Steven didn't fight. He didn't even move. His arms just hung at his side while Derek squeezed harder. "Come on," Derek whispered. "Aren't you going to fight back?" Steven tapped Derek's arm once. That was a sign in Judo to stop. Derek let go just a little, then squeezed again. A few seconds passed. Finally, Derek let go. Steven stepped forward, coughed once, and rolled his neck. The instructor looked upset. "That was not okay, Derek." He tapped. Derek raised his hands like he didn't do anything wrong. "Did he?" "I didn't feel it," he said. Some students whispered to each other. "He disrespected him," one said quietly. Steven turned to Derek again. His voice was calm. "You had your fun," he said. "Now you'll get your lesson." This time was different. The instructor said, "Begin," and Steven moved fast. Really fast. He grabbed Derek's uniform with one arm, hooked under it, and swept his legs with a strong hip throw. Boom! Derek hit the mat so hard it shook. He groaned and looked dizzy. The crowd cheered. Steven didn't stop. He pinned Derek, spun out, and stood over him before Derek could even lift his head. "Get up," Steven said. Derek blinked. What was that?" "That," Steven said, "was control." Then came the real lesson. In the next minute, Steven showed pure skill. He moved like a ghost, fast, smooth, and quiet. Derek tried to grab him, but Steven slipped away. He tried to attack, but Steven blocked him. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Steven did a shoulder lock, then a leg trap. Derek tapped out once, then twice, then a third time. When Steven finally stepped back, Derek was sitting on the mat, covered in sweat, breathing really hard. It felt like he had run a long race. Steven leaned down and said, "You wanted a show. Now you're the act everyone will remember." The students clapped, not to make fun of Derek, but because they had just seen something amazing. A real master had given a lesson, not with anger, but with true skill. Derek looked down, feeling something he never felt before. He felt ashamed. That evening, outside the dojo, Derek sat alone on the curb. He wiped some blood off his hand. He thought he would feel embarrassed, but instead he felt clear, like he finally understood something. Steven came out and sat beside him. He handed Derek a small bottle of water without saying anything. Derek took it and said quietly, "I deserved that." Steven shrugged. "You needed it." They sat in silence for a bit. Then Derek asked, "How did you stay so calm, even when I disrespected you?" Steven looked at him and said simply, "Because I don't train to win. I train to not need to fight." But they weren't the only ones watching. A young judo influencer named Tai Chen had secretly filmed part of the match. Later that night, he posted a short 15-second clip online. The title said, "Young black belt mocks Steven Seagal, gets taught real martial arts." In just one day, the clip got over 6 million views. But that was only the beginning. Soon it got 12 million views on TikTok, 7 million on Instagram, and thousands of people were talking about it on YouTube. The titles were different. Grandmaster humiliates arrogant black belt. When ego meets mastery. But they all agreed on one thing. Steven Seagal was amazing. People left comments like, "He didn't even sweat." That's what happens when you mess with a true martial artist. This man is the reason humble should be a belt color. But not everyone was a fan. Some people wanted to test Steven Chan. One of them was Marcus Cade, a 31-year-old judo champion with 4 national titles. He had a popular YouTube channel called Crossfire Combat. He made a reaction video to the clip of Steven and Derek. Marcus watched the video, shook his head, and said, "Look, no disrespect. But this wasn't a real fight." Derek was tired. He barely fought back. "I'm not saying Steven isn't good, but come on. He's old now." Then Marcus leaned close to the camera and said, "I say if the legend still has it, let him prove it. 1 mat, 1 round. No stunts. Just judo." That video went viral too. But Marcus wasn't ready for what came next. 3 days later, he got an email. Subject, accepted. Message. Location, Ridge Valley Dojo. Time, Saturday 3 p.m. No cameras. No audience. No ego. Just discipline. Signed, Steven Seagal. Saturday came fast. Marcus showed up early. He wore a clean white uniform with a black belt tied tightly. His team stayed in the car, ready to hear stories about how Marcus beat the old movie guy. But when Marcus stepped inside the dojo, it felt different. It was quiet. No lights. No cheering. Just Steven, already stretching in the middle of the mat. No team. No crowd. No noise. Only peace. They bowed to each other. No words. The match began. Marcus came in strong, going for his favorite throw, Ippon Sui Nage. He grabbed Steven, twisted, and then boom. Marcus was on the floor. It happened so fast, Marcus thought he had tripped. But no. Steven had gently redirected him, shifted his weight, and let gravity do the rest. Marcus blinked. He was confused. They tried again. Marcus attacked. Steven flowed like water. Marcus grabbed. Steven slipped out. A wrist flick here. A hip drop there. Over and over Marcus tried. Over and over Steven controlled him. There were no cameras, but if there had been, the whole world would have seen again. True mastery has no age. Then something happened that was like what Derek felt when he lost before. Marcus tried to grab Steven Seagal's neck. He thought it would be a smart move. He held tight. But Steven moved his shoulder, stepped out quickly, and grabbed Marcus's arm. In just a second, he flipped Marcus over and pinned him to the ground. He only used 1 knee and 2 fingers to hold him down. Then he held Marcus's wrist in a way no school had ever taught. Marcus tapped the ground really hard, meaning, "I give up." They both stood up, breathing fast. Marcus looked at the man he had made fun of. He said quietly, "You don't fight like anyone I've ever seen before." "I don't fight," Steven Seagal said calmly. "I make things peaceful." Marcus bowed his head low. It was a real bow this time. It showed respect, not just pride. "Why did you say yes when I challenged you?" Marcus asked. Steven looked at him and said, "Because someone like you would never visit my dojo unless your ego needed to learn a lesson." Marcus nodded, eyes looking down. "I understand now." That night, a new video went online on the Crossfire Combat YouTube channel. The title surprised everyone. "I challenged Steven Seagal and lost." In the video, Marcus didn't make up excuses. He didn't try to act cool. He simply said, "What I had today wasn't a fight. It was a lesson. Steven Seagal doesn't beat people with strength. He wins with peace, with calm, with many years of practice. And he taught me something I didn't know I needed, humility." The next day, martial arts fans on the internet were all talking about it. But it wasn't just because Steven Seagal had won. It was how he won. No big cameras, no crowd, no cheering. Just silence, calm, and the old-fashioned way of showing honor and skill. At home, Derek watched the video. He smiled. Then he turned to his little brother, who had just started learning martial arts. "Remember what I told you," Derek said. "It's not about how many belts you have. It's about how many lessons you can learn without giving up." The boy nodded. Then he asked, "Is Mr. Seagal still teaching?" Derek's smile changed to a respectful nod. He never stopped. Soon, news spread beyond just one dojo. Within a week of Marcus Cade's honest video, martial artists from all over the world, Brazilian jiu-jitsu experts, Olympic judo players, and self-defense teachers, began sharing their own stories. Some said Steven had humbled them. Others said he helped them grow. But all of them said the same thing. Steven doesn't fight. He teaches. And if you're lucky, you get to learn the hard way. Even though everyone online was talking, Steven Seagal stayed quiet. He went back to his normal life, teaching in private, walking quietly through the garden at his dojo, and staying peaceful. But one day, a new young fighter came knocking. His name was Zane Riker. He was 22 years old and had over 1 million followers on YouTube. He was very good and very full of himself. He uploaded a video titled, "Seagulls are overrated. I'd last longer than those other guys." The video showed clips of him doing fast kicks, cool throws, and spinning moves. His message was bold. "Let me face him. Just 5 minutes. Let's see who taps out first." The comments on the video exploded. "Bro, no. You're going to learn today. Steven's silence is your warning." But Steven didn't reply. He stayed silent for a whole week. Then one day a message came, but not from Steven himself. It came through Derek, his old student, who now ran a judo class for teenagers. Derek was standing in front of a group of teens at Ridge Valley Dojo when his phone rang. It showed, unknown number. He answered, Derek speaking. There was a pause. Then a calm voice said, "Set up the mat. Sunday, 10 a.m. Click. Derek didn't need to ask who it was. Sunday morning came. The Ridge Valley Dojo was ready. Zane Riker showed up with a big camera crew, full of energy and pride. He wore a bright white GI with shiny gold letters. He smiled at the cameras and said, "Let's get this over with. 5 minutes. No tapping. No quitting." Steven was already standing on the mat. He wasn't wearing a GI, just his simple black uniform. He didn't say anything. He just stood still. The match started. Zane moved super fast. He ducked down and tried to sweep Steven's leg. He was strong, quick, and clean with his moves. For a second, even the people watching flinched. But Steven didn't flinch. He moved like wind through trees. He shifted his weight, tilted his hip, and Zane stumbled. Steven stepped behind him silently and hooked his leg at just the right time. The move was so smooth, the camera barely caught it. But it worked. Zane fell face first. He quickly got up, his face red. He came back in, this time more aggressive. He used elbow moves, fast grabs, and tricky steps. But Steven stayed calm. He barely moved. Every time Zane tried something, Steven gently moved out of the way or used Zane's own force against him. It didn't look like a fight. It looked like math. At 2 minutes in, Zane tried a spinning throw. Steven sidestepped and gently placed his hand on the back of Zane's neck, guiding him to the ground like a child slipping on ice. The room went silent. Steven leaned close and whispered, "The more you rush, the easier you fall." By minute 3, Zane was done showing off. He was tired, sweaty, and looked confused. He gave one last try. He ran and tried to grab Steven from behind. But Steven turned, ducked, grabbed Zane's arm, and softly took him to the ground in a gentle choke. Tap, tap, tap. Zane tapped hard. Steven let go right away. Zane lay there, looking at the ceiling. Steven stood above him, not proud, not laughing, just quiet. "You wanted to last 5 minutes, Steven said gently. "You lasted 3, but you learned more than in 5 years." Zane sat up slowly. "You didn't hurt me." Steven nodded. "I never do." Zane looked around at the dojo. His camera crew was quiet. No one moved. "Why do you even let people challenge you?" Zane asked. Steven looked him in the eye and said, "Because people forget. Martial arts isn't about proving you're strong. It's about proving you don't need to." Outside the dojo, Derek stood with Marcus Cade and another student named Blake. All three had once been full of pride. Now they were quiet, respectful, changed. They watched as Zane walked out of the dojo, head bowed. "Another student?" Marcus asked. Derek smiled. "Another lesson." That evening, a final video went online. But it wasn't posted by Zane's team. It was posted by Derek. The title read, Steven Seagal, the man who teaches without pain. The video showed clips of the soft takedowns, the smooth throws, and the gentle choke Steven used. It wasn't shown to embarrass Zane. It was shown like art. And at the very end of the video, words appeared on the screen. When strength speaks loudest, true mastery whispers. What did you think of the story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's chat. If you enjoyed the journey, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next adventure. Thanks for being part of this one. And until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring the unknown.